Hey there, scholars. Today we are going to be working in well-ordered language. We're going to be doing part 2 of principal elements and then be working on lesson B in our workbooks. So in our principal elements, ideas to understand, you've learned that a sentence expresses a complete thought and that there are 4 kinds of sentences. Now, can you name what is specifically required for a group of words to be a sentence and not just a group of words? Every sentence is made up of 2 principal elements, the subject and the predicate. Just as an airplane can't fly without both its engine and its wings, a sentence is not a sentence without both of its principal elements. They are the necessary parts. The subject names what the sentence is about, while the predicate tells us something about the subject, such as what it is doing or being. Let's look at how Henry Wadsworth Longfellow uses subjects and predicates in his poem, The Tide Rises. The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens. The curfew calls. Along the sea sand damp and brown, the travelers hasten towards the town, and the tide rises, the tide falls. The first 3 words, the tide rises, not only expresses a complete thought, but also contains both principal elements. These words could be a sentence all by themselves. The subject, tide, is the focus of the sentence. Tide is what the sentence is about. The predicate rises tells the reader something about the subject. Rises is what the subject is doing in the sentence. Words tide, subject, rises, predicate. Notice how the poem continues. Ride, subject, falls, predicate. Twilight, subject, darkens, predicate. Curfew, subject, calls, predicate. Even though Longfellow uses poetic license in these first 2 lines and punctuates with commas, each of these short group of words are separate declarative sentences that could end in periods. They each express a complete thought, and they each include both principal elements. Usually the subject of a sentence is a noun, such as ride, twilight, or curfew, and a noun is a word that names a person, place, thing, quality, or idea. The word subject comes from the Latin word subjectus, meaning depending upon or under the power of. The subject is dependent on the predicate. The word predicate comes from the Latin word predicare, meaning to proclaim or declare publicly. The predicate proclaims something or makes something known about the subject. In English, there are 3 different predicates: predicate verb, predicate nominative, and predicate adjectives. I want you to, in your book, underline that. The 3 types, there are 3 different types of predicate. There are predicate verbs, predicate nominatives, and predicate adjectives. In this chapter, we will focus on predicate verbs, such as rises, falls, and darkens, and calls, which are all action verbs. In later lessons, we will be exploring the other 2 types of predicates. Keep in mind that an action verb might be accompanied by a helping verb. There are 23 helping verbs: am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, have, has, had, do, did, does, may, might, must, should, would, could, shall, will, can. And I have a challenge for you all. I want to see who can memorize those 23 helping verbs the fastest. So I want you to just try and memorize those. When one or more helping verbs and the main action verb stand together, they are known as a verb phrase. A verb phrase, such as is rising or had been falling, is a simple predicate in a sentence. Later, you will learn how a complete predicate may contain other elements as well. So, I will have some songs and things for you guys to try to sing along to, and there are chants for you to practice remembering all these. So, listen to the grammar songs: principal elements, noun, and verb and helping verb. Sentences to analyze. When you build a model airplane, it is essential to lay out the parts and understand how each one will function in the completed aircraft. Analyzing a sentence is similar to this because it is a process of taking a sentence apart so you can understand the whole better. You already know how to do the first part of the analysis. Now, it is important to analyze the principal elements. So we follow these steps. We read out the sentence orally. We identify the sentence by definition, state what kind of sentence it is, and explain why, and identify the subject and explain how you know what it is, and then identify the predicate and explain how you know what it is. So first we read the sentence. So read it with me. Tides fall. This is a sentence because it is a group of words that express a complete thought. It is a declarative sentence because it makes a statement. This sentence is about tides. So tides is the subject because it is what the sentence is about. Since tides is the subject, we're going to underline it and then place a capital letter S over the subject. This sentence tells us that tides fall. So fall is the predicate because that is what the sentence tells us about tides. Since fall tells us something about tides, we're going to double underline it and then place a capital P over the predicate. It is a predicate verb because it shows action. There is no linking verb because the predicate verbs do not need linking verbs. Since fall shows action, it takes a capital V in the place right after the P. So PV for predicate verb. These are the principal elements because they are what are needed to make a sentence to be complete. When analyzing predicate verbs with helping verbs, you double underline both the helping verb and the predicate verb when you write a lowercase hv above the helping verb. For example, tides are falling. This is a sentence because it is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. It is a declarative sentence because it makes a statement. This sentence is about tides. So tides is the subject because it is what the sentence is about. Since tides is the subject, we're going to underline it and place a capital S over the subject. This sentence tells us that the tides are falling. So are falling is the predicate because that's what the sentence tells us about tides. Since are falling tells us something about tides, we're going to double underline the predicate, both the action verb and the helping verb, and place a capital P above the action verb, which is falling. It is a predicate verb because it shows action. There's no linking verb because the predicate verb does not need linking verbs. Since falling shows action, place a capital V to the right of the letter P. Are is a helping verb because it helps the verb. Now place the lowercase letters HV above R. These are the principal elements because they are what is needed for the sentence to be complete. Another way to analyze a sentence is a diagram. A diagram of a sentence is basically a drawing of the sentence that shows the function of each word in a sentence and its relationship to the other parts of the sentence. Diagramming helps you to visualize or form a mental picture of how the different parts of the sentence work together. Imagine how a model airplane takes shape as its pieces are assembled. Each piece has a place and a function, and the pieces all work together to make a whole. As you build the model, you refer to its directions, which usually includes drawings. These pictures depict the model clearly and simply, making plain the purpose of each piece. It is in a similar way, the sentence diagram in a picture of a sentence diagram is a picture of a sentence. It shows the specific places and where the parts, such as the subject and predicate, fit. When you diagram a sentence, you draw so that you can clearly see the relationship between the parts. First, draw a straight horizontal baseline. Write the subject of the sentence to the left of the horizontal line. Then draw a vertical line that crosses the baseline and write the predicate verb along with the helping verb if there is one. On the right side, the first letter of the first word in the sentence is always capitalized in a diagram. The vertical line cross is the horizontal line because it shows a clear division between what the sentence is about, the subject, and what the subject is doing, the predicate verb or verb phrase. As you learn to diagram longer sentences in later chapters, you will draw other lines as well to depict different elements. However, every diagram of every sentence, no matter how long the sentence is, includes the basics you are learning right now. A horizontal line crossed by a vertical line dividing the principal elements. In the sentence, tide fall, the word tide is the subject, and it is placed on the left side of a horizontal baseline. A vertical dividing line separates the subject from the predicate. The word fall, which is the predicate verb, is placed on the right side of the line. In the next sentence, tides are falling, the word tides is the subject and is placed on the left side of the baseline, while the helping verbs are and the action verb falling are placed together on the right side of the divided line. Quick review of what we just covered. The 8 parts of speech. They are classes of words with the same kind of meaning and use. They are nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, pronouns, conjunctions, and interjunctions. Ooh, that should be interjections. Sentence is a group of words that express a complete thought. There are 4 kinds of them. Declarative sentence makes a statement. Interrogative sentence asks a question. Imperative sentence gives a command. An exclamatory sentence expresses a strong feeling. That should be reviewed from our lesson on Monday. Principal elements. Parts of speech that are needed for a sentence to be complete. The subject and predicate are those parts. That's what we just learned. Noun, a part of speech, it names a person, place, thing, quality, or an idea. A noun can be singular or plural. That means there can be one or more than one. And then the 23 helping verbs, which I want you to try to memorize. Okay, let's practice a little bit. So I have this sentence, geese are flying. So first identify this is a sentence because it is a complete thought. It is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. It's a declarative sentence because it's making a statement. This sentence is about geese. So I am going to underline, let's use red. I'm going to underline geese and put a S above because that is my subject. That's what my sentence is about. The sentence tells the geese are flying. So I'm going to double underline the predicate. So our flying is a predicate because it tells us what the sentence tells us about the geese. So double underline are flying. And then I'm going to place a capital P over the top of flying. Then because it shows what it's doing. It is a predicate verb because it shows the action. There is no linking verb because predicate verbs do not need linking verbs. So I'm going to place a V to the next of the P. So it's my predicate verb. Are is a helping verb because it helps the verb. It's helping out the word flying. So I'm going to put an HV to show that it's a helping verb. These are the principal elements because they are what's needed to make a completed sentence. Now, we're going to diagram this sentence. This is new for you guys this year. To diagram a sentence, what I first need to do is I'm going to draw my horizontal line. Now, if you have difficulty drawing a straight line, and this will be set you up for success later on in the year when we are working with larger sentences, use a ruler to write these out. So in your workbook, get a ruler and then draw out a straight line. So I'm going to write the subject, geese, and then I'm going to put a vertical line down. And then I'm going to put whatever my predicate is, are flying, to the right side of that. So I can see there's a clear separation. Geese is my subject, are flying is my predicate. Okay. Let's look at another one. Loki watches. So I know that this is a sentence because it is a collection of words that make a complete thought. It's a declarative sentence because it makes a statement. And I can identify the subject. This sentence is about Loki. So I'm going to underline Loki and then put an S above the top. That's telling me that it's a subject. I can see, what is Loki doing? Watches. That is my predicate. So I'm going to put a P and then it's a predicate verb. It has an action. It's telling me what Loki is doing. He watches. So if I'm going to diagram that, I'm again going to draw my horizontal line as straight as possible. Use a ruler if you need it. And then I'm going to write Loki as my subject. To the right of Loki, I'm going to draw a vertical line that crosses through my horizontal baseline. And then I'm going to write my predicate, a verb, watches. And that's how you diagram that sentence. So, lesson B in your workbooks is what you will be working on. So if we go take a look at workbook pages 16, 17, and 18, which you should accomplish today, it looks like this. You're going to analyze and then diagram each sentence in the spaces provided. Use a ruler to draw the lines. Geese are flying. Wait. We did that one already. So go back, rewind, and we just did that one. Loki watches. We did that one again too. So if you're not sure, rewind, and we did that one together. The next three, leaves are fluttering. You're going to do the same thing. Analyze it, then diagram it. Same thing for D and E. On question number 2, it asks, on the line provided, list the subjects from the sentences you analyzed. So if you analyze and diagram them, if you look at a diagram, let's say this says geese are flying. After you've diagrammed every single sentence, your answers for number 2 are always going to be to the left side of that horizontal line. Those are your subjects. All right, question number 3 asks, imagine you are watching a play or recital. On the lines provided here on the following page, so it does go on to the next page, you will be constructing or writing your own sentences using words from each column. So you're going to select a subject from the list. So let's say my first one, let's say I want to pick the word munchkins. That's a nice word. Munchkins. So I am going to write a sentence, and then I'm going to go and do a helping verb. Let's go with have been. Munchkins have been. And then pick a verb, and I'll go with singing. You don't need to underline it. You might want to cross it out as you use it so that you come up with some different ones, but you can reuse some of the words. So my sentence for A is going to be munchkins have been singing. And that's what it's asking you to do. Make sure to put a capitalization and a period. And then you're going to do that until you are done on page 17, I believe. Let me double check. Nope, page 18. Go all the way through H. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sentences. You will need 8 sentences. And then question number 4 is, imagine you are watching the ballerinas, munchkins, and goblins perform. Then write a declarative sentence about it. So we just learned about all the 4 types of sentences in our last lesson. So this one, write a declarative sentence about ballerinas, munchkins, and goblins performing in a play. The next page is just notes if you need it, but it's not part of the lesson. All right, if you have any questions, make sure to either comment or email your teacher, and then our afternoon Zoom class, it will be dedicated for answering any questions you have. All right, I'll see you next time.